Hey, it's Jim.
Hey, it's Corey.
And on today's episode, we're going to correct a severe oversight from one of our last episodes.
Impossible. We've only done 2 shows.
I know, and we already have a mistake.
Well, I'm also going to talk about a snake and something I don't understand.
All right. And I have the topic of icing, which is a new thing that I haven't heard of before, and I think we should go over it.
Definitely.
There
Let's
we
go.
All right. So we're back. It's been a while with Christmas.
Finally.
Yeah, no. Christmas, New Year's, everything. We haven't had time. So we're back now, and we're loaded up with stuff. But first of all, before we get started, we have to give a huge shout out to our #1 fan and subscriber, coming and watching our videos from abroad, Anthony. We're glad he's out there. We're glad he's watching because he's probably the only one. All right. So one thing also that he brought up to us is that one of our last episodes about hot hatches, huge oversight. We forgot one of the big players out there when we were talking about the Ford, the Focus, and the Fiesta, and of course WRX and stuff like that. We totally forgot about the Golf GTI, and we left it out of that conversation completely, which was kind of ridiculous. So Golf GTI, huge player, definitely a fan favorite with a lot of people, and they have both the GTI version, they have the Rs, the R32 in the past, and it's good that Anthony brought that to us, our attention, and because there's actually some news right now, and they're talking about the next generation Golf GTI, the Mk8, and that one is supposed to be coming out pretty soon, and it's going to be pushing 300 horsepower for just the GTI version. The R version is supposed to have the inline 5 turbocharged that Audi uses. And
that's all right.
And that one's putting out some serious power. That one's putting out close to 400 horsepower.
It sounds very good too.
Yeah, it's got a good sound, and so we're talking about 300 horsepower in the GTI, 400 horsepower in the R. It's going to be called the R420, excuse me, and it's a heck of a car, and I think that using a turbocharged inline 5 is that's
I'm glad somebody is just not going to stick with the 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Mk8 will have a 4-cylinder, presumably, whatever the word is. I assume it would be 4-cylinder turbocharged, but yeah, when they go even faster, it's nice that they're not just blowing up the 4-cylinder; they're adding an extra cylinder. Yeah. The Audi with I think, is it the RS3 that has that turbo 5-cylinder? Perhaps. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I assume that's the one. I mean, it's definitely the A3, so I would assume it must be the RS2 version. Anyway, I thought that was cool. The only downside, and this news has been out for a while, and along with everything else, is that the GTI and the R are totally dropping manual transmissions.
Mm-hmm.
So another hot hatch with no manual. That really stinks. But nonetheless, it's going to be fast. It's going to be faster without the manual and all that stuff. And I think that's some pretty big news there for a car that we completely forgot.
Yeah, and it's funny because I just haven't kept up with it for a long time, just because to me there are other ones out there. But I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know what the specs are of the current one right now. I couldn't tell you. But the smaller 4-cylinder I'm just talking like anybody else at this point, because I haven't done my research for this specific vehicle, but it would fall low on my radar compared to the Focus ST and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the R.
The RS.
But the RS, yeah, maybe it competes closer. I feel like Volkswagen these days are, all I see are interior updates that look like Audi. It looks very nice, but I feel like the performance is not where it used to be. Like I remember the Jetta GLI when they still had the VR6 in there, and loved it. Now, yes, you got the 4 cylinders now are probably pushing more on the spec sheet, but it when you had a 6 in there was a great smooth 6, and then you throw in the 4 cylinders, you just lose interest.
Yeah, no, something different. Inline 5 is always an intriguing engine, and it should make for a pretty cool car. And competition has gone way down, which is what we talked about in our last video. So with the Fords gone, GTI can step up and take over some more market share big time. So
yeah,
pretty awesome.
And the Volkswagens themselves, they still have a huge following, just for obvious reasons. So all right, very good. Well,
all right, so what you got?
Okay, so back to Monster Juice. So over let's see, January, the Detroit Auto Show. Of course, there are a few exciting debuts. One of them being the Mustang GT500. They didn't debut the complete specs, but Ford has said that it's going to be over 700 horsepower. Coming from, of course, a supercharged V8, and it's a 5.2 liter V8. Shares the same block as the GT350, but it is not flat plane.
It's not?
No. It's a more traditional, the 90-degree crank setup.
Really?
So they're thinking that it's not going to, they're thinking it's not going to be redlining quite as high because of that.
Yeah.
But that was one interesting bit of info. Also, I'm reading right now, but I know this is not the case. So this is a quick write-up before debut that I'm reading. It says expect a 6-speed manual. That is not the case. There is no manual option.
Yeah.
But they have gone dual clutch, which is
right. Yes, I did hear that.
Interesting, because a lot of these huge high horsepower cars, manufacturers are getting away from dual clutch, and just going with torque converter. Maybe it's a reliability thing. I don't know, but I guess kudos to Ford if they're going to drop the manual. At least they have a dual clutch. That's great. But I mean, come on, I'd like to have the manual in there. Yeah. It also just not a fan. Ford has this rotary dial on the center console that they use in the. Is it in the? I don't think it's in the. It's not in the trucks yet. The F-150s have a nice lever. Some of the vehicles have a rotary dial, and I believe the Ranger is going to have a rotary dial. But anyway, this rotary dial that is in the parts bin of every other Ford's vehicle is going into the Mustang. That's just, I don't like it.
Yeah.
So,
well, shoot, you threw a bucket of cold water on me there that it wasn't the flat plane V8. I totally thought that was it. I totally thought they were using that engine. They were supercharging it. That's where getting all this monster horsepower, and you were still going to get super high revs and all the great attributes of the flat plane. That kind of stinks. Are you sure?
Well, it's funny because this article that I'm reading, I've heard this from multiple reports, but this article again talks about expecting the 6-speed manual. I know that's not the case.
Right.
So let me use the interwebs here. We might have another thing to correct, in which case we'll just re-record it. Nobody will know.
All right, well, I'm doing that too. Actually, I might throw up a picture because I never did before of the Mk8 GTI for 2019.
I like the blue.
Yeah, pretty car. It looks very much the same to me, at least from this side shot. And yeah, this is talking about using Audi's turbocharged inline 5. But it's a pretty good looking car. Pretty good looking.
It is. Let's see. Well, the internet, you'd think, would have this everywhere.
You really having trouble finding it?
There's everything I'm finding right now is pre-auto show.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And so here we go. Pulling up auto show news.
Tune into Fresh Guys to watch two guys search the internet without talking.
Yep. Here we go. Yep. This is from autoblog.com. At the Auto Show, a big change from the GT350's Voodoo is the changeover from a flat plane crank to a more traditional cross-plane crank in the GT500.
Why?
So
that's what makes the new Shelby Mustang Shelby Mustang. You know, made it special, in my opinion. That was the whole thing. Is it so is it going to be basically? You said it was still a 5.2 liter V8.
Still 5.2.
So they're using. So then, what is it? Just a honed out?
It's a bigger supercharger. So 2.65 liter supercharger. Let's see. And so, as the previous article confirmed, probably lower redline. It's the case here, 7500 redline. Let's see. I have heard audio, and it sounds as mean or meaner than the GT350 and 350R. So you might think that, oh, is it maybe still flat plane? But
yeah.
But yeah, it's not. So I have not seen why. That might be a topic of conversation for a future episode.
Yeah, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So in these really souped up muscle cars, stock muscle cars around there. So you got the Hellcat, which is still hanging on to a manual. What the ZL1? Do they offer manual? I think they do, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you still got that. But then you got the GT50 500 with no manual, putting out similar horsepower, maybe a little more, but it's going to be in that same 650 to 700.
I would love to know the reasoning why.
Yeah, me too.
Is it, customers are going to go through clutches every 2 seconds? I don't know. But I mean, Dodge has got it. Doesn't appear to be a problem.
Yeah, right. It's not a. I mean, and looking at all the aftermarket stuff, look like for the Z06.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's everyone's pushing 5, 6, 7,000 horsepower, and they go to these aftermarket clutches that, they're beasts. They're bullet.
Mm-hmm.
They're made to handle that and more, and not like they can't put the same thing in these stock cars. I mean, I know that stuff's going to cost some more, but good golly, they're not afraid to push the price limits. So
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's one thing. So pricing has not been announced, so we'll see what that'll be.
That'll be huge.
It's got a carbon fiber drive shaft.
That's cool.
That was kind of cool. So
very cool.
They beefed that up. But yeah, this is gonna cost a fortune.
Well, let's see. So the GT350 is 60s to 70s. Not the R. I know the 350R is a little bit more than that, but I think the 350. It'd be really interesting to compare. I can't wait till these two are out. To take 350 and the 500 and put them side by side. Now, obviously, you got a lot more horsepower and all that, but is it really going to put the power down much better than the 350? I bet you their numbers are going to be closer than you would expect.
Right.
I want the flat plane.
Yeah. The GT350 starts at 56.9.
Okay.
The problem with Ford is that, man, every new Ford that's hot is marked up like mad.
Yeah.
More so, I feel like, than when the Hellcat came out, or they're just. It might be perception that is incorrect on my part, but they always seem like they're always way marked up.
Yeah.
I would expect the GT500 to compare against the GT350 like the ZR1 compares to the Z06. It's a better track car and shaves some time off the track, but they're both so doggone fast.
Yeah.
That on the street, there's not a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. See if they can differentiate them enough. I mean, I guess the 350, they're gonna. Well, I don't know. I mean, I would assume they would take the 350 and certainly the 350R and say that that's going to be much more track focused, keep it lighter weight, more agile around the track and all that. And then the 500 just be more of a bruiser, more like competitive with the Hellcat and all that, where you're just talking big, heavy, powerful muscle car, straight line performance is going to be priority.
Yeah, and there may be, the ZR1 and ZR6 are closer together than the gap of the GT500 and GT350 in terms of power. I guess it's just a term of how it can keep it down. If it can get it down, then the gap is gonna be more felt. Right? So anyway,
all right. So the next thing that I've got to discuss, because this was new to me, and I thought it's kind of one of the most ridiculous things that I've heard of. So icing meaning ice, like internal combustion engine icing. So icing Tesla owners is where people who aren't so cool with the electric cars, they do this. There we go. They do that to the Superchargers.
Oh.
You take gas cars, usually people doing big trucks, and you block all the Superchargers. And
okay.
You just leave your car parked there. So
I had a technical issue, but now I see it.
Okay.
I kind of like that.
Well, I know, right? Part of me likes it because it's, we like big gas and diesel trucks and all that stuff. But I also have no problems with electric cars, especially Teslas who are pushing performance limits all the time. And
True.
I think they're awesome. But anyway, this is just like this. I think this is a real thing that's happening with some frequency, and it's ridiculous. But anyway, it's funny and stupid. I hadn't heard of it. Apparently, it's a thing. And so there's this picture, but then there's one other thing that I'll have to show you because
I'm gonna have to go find a supercharging station and see what I see.
Yeah. So Tesla owners, one in particular, have fought back. And here we go. I'll skip ahead just so you can see. As you can see, something like the Model X with all-wheel drive. And you've got.
So, is there any context behind this? Does he know that Silverado owner or anything?
I think so. I think they did this on purpose, just to prove a point. Because they were thinking, how hard would it be to just move these guys out of the way? The Teslas have tons of power, especially the X. It's got a hitch on it and everything. As you can see, this is not a problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh. Yeah.
Is it dry now on the ground? It looks dry now. It looks like maybe he was on a little bit of wet surface earlier.
Yeah, but it's dry. He just acts like, it's zero. I mean, you've got all that torque from zero with the electric car. Got plenty of it, and it yanked it in park without any issue whatsoever. Sorry, I thought that was funny. The concept of icing was new to me, and apparently Tesla.
This is going to start an interesting war here.
Yep.
Yeah, I had not heard of icing before now, except for the one that I can eat.
That's right.
That's what I love. Yeah, no, that's crazy. It's not surprising that Tesla could do it, really, because of the torque.
Yeah, there was no issue. Yeah, it's funny. All right, so what else you got?
So the thing I don't understand would be another debut at the auto show is the return of the Toyota Supra.
Yes.
And
it was almost one of my topics, but I decided to let that go for now.
So, of course, it's a joint venture with BMW.
Yep.
And that's what I don't understand, really. Why is it a joint venture with BMW?
No idea.
Why didn't Toyota Toyota is Toyota.
Yep.
They have huge funds and resources and whatnot. Why didn't they just make their thing? And so from the research I've done, it's Toyota has done the design, the body, and BMW has provided the powertrain. So if you don't think about BMW and Toyota and you just think about the vehicle, that sounds like it would be a very good vehicle because BMW makes great cars, but it's just still a weird. They've never done this before, and why would Toyota choose to do this with the Supra of all vehicles?
Yeah.
And if you look at some interior shots, I love the rear. I do like the rear of the car. I think it looks great.
I'm so far, I'm not sold on the styling. I mean, it's a nice looking car. I don't have anything terrible to say about it, but
I only like the rear.
Just because they've been working on this for so long, and this is, and it was such an iconic car back in the 90s and all that, I just was kind of expecting it to be even better looking, but I know that's...
The rest of it to me looks almost Mazda-ish or something.
Yeah.
It doesn't... I mean, the Supra was this exotic car back in the day, and I feel like it's just now another car in the Toyota stable that is kind of like Z3, Z4, and Z3, Z4 is a cool car, but it's not BMW's staple performance.
It's not
car.
It's not their
just
car.
Yeah, it's just another car. I feel like, you know what, I feel like this is a competitor to the 370Z.
Yeah.
Not a competitor to the GTR. And I would have thought that maybe it would be a competitor to a GTR or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's actually, the GTR is a great comparison, because I was just going to say you could easily slap a Lexus badge on this Supra, and it would just look like, to me, another one in the Lexus lineup. Not a huge standout, versus you can't take a GTR and throw an Infinity badge on it and just say, oh, just another Infinity / Nissan. You know what I mean? Like, that stands out as being something separate and special.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that the Supra would kind of fill that spot, like you said, closer to the GTR, kind of a halo car for the Toyota Motor Company. And instead, I don't think it doesn't hit that mark, and it's co-developed with BMW. So
right.
I'm sure it's a great car, and I'm sure I'll love it if I see it in person and never got to drive it and all that. But just, I don't know, just was hoping for more since it's been so long.
Well, another car with no manual.
Yes. Of course.
And since, okay, so it's BMW switchgear, it's BMW radio, nav, gauge cluster. It is everything BMW except the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And normally that's fine. I prefer BMW interiors to Toyota interiors, but this is supposed to be some special thing, and you get in and you're like, oh, it's a BMW.
Yeah.
So again, I just don't get it. I don't.
Yeah, Beamer.
Out of all,
you got the pictures up. Yeah.
Yeah. And this should maximize it.
Yeah, it's totally a Z4.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, they've been talking about this car, and there's been so much hype forever and ever, and this is what they do?
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so another controversial car that is similar to this is, the Acura NSX. So another car that was such a champion in its day and then disappeared for so long and then finally came back. And in my opinion, I think the new NSX is a pretty awesome car, and takes it to another level with it being hybrid and all that. But I feel like that car was worth the wait and really came out to be something special, whereas this car, and certainly did not come out, it's an Acura. It's nothing. It's a Honda. It's not, they didn't join up with some other company and kind of make this monster. So
it maintains the NSX's present at an exotic level, and the Supra used to be there, and now I don't think it is.
Yeah. So. And honors the lineage, which the Supra did not with Beamer.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, kind of weird. And it's another, in my opinion, it'd be a car that if you're going to put out that kind of money to get this car, you'd have to stop and take a look at the competitive BMW. To look at the Z4.
Right, just go by. I know. Just go by into it.
And just at least that way you don't pop the hood and show off your Beamer engine in your Toyota. It's just weird.
Yeah.
I don't like that stuff.
So
anyway,
crazy stuff. I have one more little thing. Did you? Okay, I'll go. So Remember, we have talked previously about Ford and their EcoBoost and the V8. We did Coyote versus the EcoBoost.
Yep.
And well, there's just more and more cases of this. So TFL truck again tested on their Ike Gauntlet. So their test, this is up the Eisenhower. This is up to 11,000 feet in elevation. Up the highway, towing a 7,000 or 8,000 pound trailer. They did a test of the EcoBoost in a pretty loaded limited versus the V8. This is similar to a video I think we did a 0 to 60, and it was a base 2-wheel drive versus a loaded 4-wheel drive. Same setup here, but they tested the towing, and they felt that the EcoBoost had more power going up. It wasn't straining as hard, which is that would be expected. But on the way down, they keep it in a certain gear, test how many times they have to hit the brakes, see how well engine braking works. And it was only one time less, but the Coyote performed better on the way down, less braking applications. And on the way up, the V8, who was holding a much higher RPM, but still went up at average 4 miles a gallon, and this EcoBoost averaged 3.5 miles a gallon. So the V8 again, working harder, gets better gas mileage. So it just again, where is the return on the V6? I don't get it.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
There it is. So.
Yeah. So all you're gaining is some torque, which I'm sure is helpful going up, and then it's turbocharged. So if you're at high elevation, that's going to make a bit of a difference. But when all is said and done, the 5-liter was right there and performed just and much better on the fuel economies. That's kind of ridiculous because that's always the big sell now. Smaller displacement engine plus turbochargers, you get all your power, but you get better fuel economy, blah, 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 blah. And not necessarily true. You're going to actually use the truck the way a truck is intended.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. And
they even held up the window stickers, and the average MPG was the same at 19 combined for each truck.
Yeah.
So.
Crazy.
Anyway, that's all I have for today.
All right. And we shall end it there.
All righty. Until next time.
Until next time. We'll see you later.
Later.